Hello, my name is Ian Shin, and welcome to the Baking Shin, the show that tries to show that baking is fun, easy, and I think rather appealing. So today we're going to make a veritable French classic, a baguette. But not just any baguette, we're going to make a baguette de tradition, or a tradition baguette. And that means it uses a little bit of sourdough starter, which I happen to think is very exciting. If you think things like active yeast cultures are exciting, which I do. And I just love baguettes because they're mostly crust, which means it has the most concentration of flavor, which is the crust. So I think that's very nice for sandwiches and the like. But with this dough, it's very versatile. You could make other shapes, other types of breads. You could make like a Batards shape, which is a log, or you could make a Couronne, which is a crown, or you could even make a ficelle, which is a thin baguette, or a string baguette. But this is a very versatile recipe, so let's not waste any time. So come join me in my baking laboratory, and let's get started. For this recipe, we shall need 1 kilogram of flour, 700 milliliters of water, 25 grams of salt, 4 grams of instant yeast, and 200 grams of sourdough starter. Pour the water and sourdough starter into a bowl and mix to evenly disperse the sourdough starter into the water. Then add the instant yeast and the flour and mix until thoroughly combined. Now let rest for 15 to 20 minutes to allow the flour to soak up all the water and give it a little more strength so it's easier to knead. After the 15 to 20 minute rest period, it should look like this. It'll be a lot stronger, a lot more elastic, and it will be easier to knead when you decide to knead it. Now plunk it onto the table and add the salt on top, and then knead this all together for about 5 to 7 minutes or until it's very elastic and supple and bouncy. I enjoy all of those adjectives thoroughly. If it begins to stick, instead of adding too much extra flour, why not try spraying a little water onto the table? It'll keep it from sticking and it'll keep it from drying out the dough. But do as you wish. After you finish kneading, lubricate your fermentation vessel a little bit. I've used some water, but you could also use oil, that would work perfectly well. And place your very supple dough into your vessel, and then cover. I've used a plastic box here. Now ferment for 2 hours. After the first 45 minutes, it should look like this. So wet your hands a little bit so the dough doesn't stick to your hands, and then give it all a fold. You should fold all the corners into the center. Very easy. And this will give it a little more strength, and it'll redistribute the yeast. And in the next 45 minutes, repeat this process for a total of 2 folding sessions. When it's fully fermented, it should have bubbles around the side, and also it should have almost doubled in size. After the 2 hours fermentation time, divide the dough into 300-gram pieces of dough for baguettes, and for the larger loaves, I usually use around 600 to 800 grams of dough. Today I've used 650 grams of dough, and that makes a nice medium-sized loaf. For baguettes, first we take the 300-gram piece of dough and just kind of shape it into a rough log shape. You don't need to be as precise as I am here. It'll all even out when you're finished. And for Batards and for the Couronne, we're also going to make pre-shape into a ball shape, like so. Cover and let rest for 10 to 15 minutes to allow the gluten to relax. For shaping the baguettes, take one of your rough log-shaped seam side up and deflate it slightly, and then fold the top flap into the center. Turn it around, and then fold the other flap into the center, and then using the heel of your hand, make a trench down the middle. And then, using one hand to guide and one hand to seal it up into another longer log shape. And then roll into desired length. Now, my oven can take about, I'd say, 12 inches of baguette, but if your oven can take a little longer, go with a little longer, because really a baguette should be maybe 18 inches long, my favorite size. And then place into a linen proofing cloth, floured, or you could also use a bit of floured canvas or a bit of floured tea towel. To make the batard, take one of your rounds and place it seam side up, then kind of stretch it and deflate it slightly, and then make it into a rough rectangle, and from the top, keep rolling and rolling and rolling, using the back of your hand to move it forward, and then seal it down with either the side of your thumb or the heel of your hand. For the couronne, or crown shape, take your finger to guide where you're going to put it, and then put your elbow into the slight hole to make it bigger, and then slightly stretch it out, and from here on you can either put it on a baking tray, or you could put it in one of these special Banneton proofing baskets that are special for crown loaves. Cover and let the baguettes rise for about 30 to 50 minutes, and for the batard and for the crown loaf, let that rise for about 1 hour to 2 hours. And now to properly score the loaves, you must make them the cuts almost vertical and cut them at a slight 45-degree angle. Let me show you. What I've put, now you have to take the loaves and put them on your peel, or in this case I've used a board of wood with some flour, and then as you can see here, you just cut them almost vertical but not quite touching, and at a 45-degree angle, so they open beautifully. Now slide into a preheated 450-degree F oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, and for the first 10 minutes, add steam. I've added steam by pouring boiling water into a preheated turkey roaster with a cast iron skillet inside. And then for the last 10 minutes, to 10 to 15 minutes, take the steam out so it browns beautifully, as seen here. Place your risen batard and crown loaf onto peels and cut as you see fit. I've just cut some traditional shapes, nothing too fancy, and then place them in the oven, much like the baguettes. And keep in mind that you must add steam for the first 10 minutes or so, and then take the steam out so they can brown evenly. And keep in mind also that these are larger loaves, so they'll take longer to bake. Mine took about, I'd say, 35 minutes. And here are our finished baguettes, and various things made out of baguette dough. As you can see, the baguette is a very, this baguette de tradition dough is very versatile. We have these lovely baguettes, and they're a little short, and I'll say they're a little short because this is made for a home oven. As you can see, some of these have some stretch marks. I tried to make them a little too long, but with a home oven you really can't make baguettes too long, though I prefer it long. And we have a ficelle, which is the smaller baguette, and this is nice if you want to have like a dainty dinner party, and you don't want to make, if you want to make these into rolls, or if you have a luncheon, they're nice because you don't have to have a big baguette sandwich. You can have a dainty little baguette sandwich, which is nice as well. And we have our big couronne shape, our crown loaf, which is also nice, because you can cut this in half and you can make a sandwich, everyone can have a slice, which is a nice sharing type of thing. And here's our batard. Very, very nice if you like a larger loaf. It just tastes like a big baguette. As you can see, these baguettes have nice grignes, or ears, and this is a good sign that they've been cut correctly and they've been fermented correctly. You want that ear, but if you don't have it, what really matters is that it tastes good. But let's give this a bit of a try. I'll cut it on an angle. And look at these holes. These holes are exactly what we're looking for. These are regular holes. But if you don't get holes, you can always try again, and it's not a problem. I'll cut myself off a little slice. I can tell you right now that this is awfully, awfully fragrant. Very, very different from, I'd say, like supermarket bread, which just taint bread if it were up to me. And also I'd like to note that this bread is cream colored. It's not completely white, like some more commercial bread. It's a nice and rich and creamy color, and has a very nice crust, if you can hear that crunch. And crust is what we look for in a baguette, so let's give this a bit of a try. That's awfully, awfully good. It has a balanced acidity, just a little bit of acidity, just enough to make it interesting. And the crust ain't bad neither. And that's how to make French tradition baguettes. And as you can see, it wasn't very difficult to do. It just takes a little more time and elbow grease, and you can make a whole different array of shapes and types of bread with this one baguette dough. And as another note, I'd like to say that if your baguettes don't turn out the same as mine do the first time around, don't lose heart. I've had many experience of losing a lot of different loaves of bread, trying to make a very nice loaf of bread, and I can honestly say it just takes a little time and practice, and soon you'll be making your own very nice, very crusty, very fragrant, and rather phallic French baguettes in your own home. So, thanks very much for joining me today on The Baking Chin. My name is Ian Chin, and as always I wish you happy baking.
S'asseoir à ma table, il fait si froid dehors. Ici c'est confortable, laissez-vous faire, milord, et prenez bien vos aises, vos peines sur mon cœur.